Despite what leaders and technologists might think, employees actually don't want to use AI and they are quietly resisting the AI movement. I'm going to explain what I mean by that here today. My name is Eric Kimberling. I'm the CEO of Third Stage Consulting. We're an independent tech-agnostic consulting firm that helps clients throughout the world with their digital transformation journeys. And one of the things that's top of mind for leaders and technologists right now is AI. And maybe it's even top of mind for you as you think about how you're going to improve your business and embark on your digital transformation. But despite what most leaders think within organizations, employees are actually resisting AI. However, it's not an open rebellion. It's not an obvious sabotaging of AI initiatives that we're seeing. We're seeing more of a quiet, passive, below the surface sort of movement where employees are flat out resisting AI and failing to adopt AI within the organizations. Now, on the surface, leaders might think people are excited about AI. They see the vision of the future for how AI might help their organizations be better. They might think that people will be excited to know that their jobs are going to be easier. They might be excited to know that much of their job is now going to be automated with AI and provide them a tool set that enables them in ways they hadn't been able to handle it before. But this is a false assumption. This is true in some cases, but in most cases, people are deeply concerned about AI. And I'm not here to suggest that you don't pursue your AI initiatives, but I am here to be realistic about what the change implications are and what the human impact might be. And ultimately, what I hope to do in this video is not only help explain what the disconnect is between what leaders think is happening with AI versus what's actually happening on the front lines with employees, but also to give you a playbook or a prescription on how to address some of the resistance that we see a lot of organizations facing here today. And if you'd like to learn more and go into deeper detail on how to define an AI strategy and how to execute an AI strategy that makes sense for your organization, I encourage you to download our Guide to AI Strategy. You can find that by scanning the QR code right here or go to the links below. I talked about how there's a disconnect between what leaders think is happening with AI, what technologists think is happening with AI versus what employees are feeling boots on the ground. And what I want to do with you today is share with you 5 lessons that we've learned from helping clients through their AI initiatives, not only from a strategy perspective, but also from a change management perspective. What are those areas of resistance that we're seeing amongst employees on the front lines, and why are they resisting it? I'll start by summarizing and saying it's not coming from a bad place. Most employees are not interested in sabotaging AI initiatives. Most employees are not interested in disrupting the flow and the evolution of your organization. And most employees are not interested in being insubordinate or refusing to follow the leadership of the organization. Instead, there are 5 basic human dynamics that are at play with how employees are resisting AI. The first is job security anxiety. When you read the headlines about what AI is going to do to society in the future, many of those headlines feature alarmist types of data suggesting that millions or maybe even tens of millions of jobs might be lost or displaced or somehow negatively impacted in the long term. So regardless of whether or not this is the case with your organization or the intent of your organization, people's mindset focuses on some of those headline news articles that they see in mainstream media. And this may turn out to materialize as well, but it's not even a matter of whether or not the alarmists are right and AI becomes a replacement for human jobs in the future. The fact of the matter is people perceive that it might, and that fear and uncertainty is what creates doubt when it comes to job security. A second reason why employees are resisting AI is because AI in many cases is being introduced without purpose. There's just pressure to introduce AI to the organization. A lot of times the board of directors and the shareholders of the organization are pushing management teams to adopt AI because they know long-term AI may and very well likely could improve the productivity and effectiveness and cost structure of organizations longer term. Now, of course, this ties back to the first fear that employees have, is that they fear their job loss and their job security, but it also, beyond that, creates a lack of certainty around why the organization is going through the project, why they're deploying AI, and what they expect the organization to look like after they use AI within the organization. A third reason why employees are resisting AI in many organizations we work with is because leaders oftentimes put tools before trust, and they put the technology first, and the human part and the operational part they decide they want to figure out later. And this is understandable in some ways because AI is new. A lot of us are still uncertain as to how AI is going to change and impact our operations, so we don't have a lot of those answers. But when we don't have those answers as leaders, employees are going to have a hard time following if they don't have clarity and understanding of why we're deploying AI and what we hope to accomplish from it. So this is why it's so important to have a clear vision and a clear direction for what it is you hope to get out of your AI initiative. A fourth reason why employees are resisting AI is because there's a lack of certainty on how AI will affect their individual careers. I talked before about short-term job security being a concern for employees, but even beyond that, what does AI mean for their jobs going forward? How are they going to upskill themselves and become more relevant in today's AI-driven society? A lot of organizations are focusing on implementing that technology without necessarily investing in the people side of understanding how AI can be used and the people side of understanding the technological aspects of AI. So in the absence of that understanding, people are not going to feel confident in their jobs, and they're not going to know exactly how their career will unfold at your company and potentially future employers going forward. A fifth reason why employees are resisting AI on the front lines is because of change fatigue. Organizations have gone through a significant amount of technological change and operational change, and in many cases, organizational change in recent years, going back to COVID and even before COVID. Organizations have had to deal with a lot, and employees have had to deal with a lot. Technology has changed. A lot of organizations have moved to the cloud. A lot of organizations have been re-engineering their business processes and addressing other technological initiatives. And at some point, there's a breaking point where employees just can't consume and handle more change and still do their day-to-day jobs. So the change fatigue that many organizations are experiencing right now, especially in the face of economic uncertainty and globalization and other factors outside the realm of your technology project, you add all this up and you have a perfect storm and a backdrop of where employees start to resist further change because they can only handle so much change. So given the fact that AI is evolving so fast and disrupting organizations in mostly a positive way, potentially, it's also creating short-term negative disruption as it relates to employees. And it's important to understand these 5 reasons I've talked about here today on why employees are resisting that change. But what I want to do next is unpack these 5 things a little bit more and talk about why this resistance is actually rational, and more importantly, stay tuned to the end of the video because I'll share some tips on how to overcome this resistance. So resistance to change as it relates to AI amongst employees is something that may sound like a negative thing or a bad thing. But I want to summarize and start off by saying most of the time employees is not coming from a bad place when they resist change to AI or any other technology. Most of the time there's a good human basic instinct that feeds into that. For many, having skepticism around AI is not pure sabotage, it's more of a survival strategy. It's trying to understand and make sense of the world around them. When you have all these media outlets talking incessantly about AI and how great it is and how profitable it's going to make companies and how many jobs can be saved to all these different companies, it's understandable why people would wonder if AI really is a good thing for them, especially at an individual level. So they may not be leading with negativity, but something that's meant to be positive ends up becoming a negative thing when they don't have that certainty and understanding of why the organization is going through the process. The other source of resistance and the other human behavior aspect of resistance to AI is the fact that people have learned from past transformations that their organization has been through. If your organization has failed in past attempts to implement ERP or other types of enterprise technologies, or if you've just had troubled attempts along the way and it's been a pretty messy process, employees remember that. They have long-term memories and they remember the pain that the organization went through because in many cases they were part of that pain and they were direct recipients of that pain. So now when you throw in a new technology that's still not quite mature, it's still not proven, it still hasn't been widely accepted by most organizations, you can see why employees wonder if this is really a good thing and they're trying to make sense of it all. And third, another reason why I'd say resistance to AI is rational is because so many organizations are using AI very tactically at this point. A lot of them are still testing and piloting and trying to figure out how could AI help our business, and they don't necessarily have a bigger picture, overarching strategy of how they're going to deploy AI and other technologies. So that's understandable from a leadership perspective, but you have to recognize that that uncertainty at the leadership level, that uncertainty around how AI is going to be used in your organization creates uncertainty with employees, which then translates to resistance. So now that we've talked about some of the reasons why human behavior is natural and the resistance to AI is natural and understandable, let's shift gears and talk about what you can do about it to give yourself a better chance to succeed with your AI initiatives going forward. So what are leaders missing when they try to lead their employees through change? What are they missing that's causing employees to resist change? Well, first of all, I'd say it's not what you're doing necessarily that's causing employees to resist AI. It's what you're not doing. So let's talk about the things you can do. And let's also talk about the things that you should do less of as well. The first is to view AI as an organizational change initiative, not a technology initiative. It's really important to understand that yes, AI is a really cool technology. It's very advanced, it's very sophisticated, becoming very sophisticated. It's exciting in many cases. It still should be treated as an organizational initiative. It should not lead the change. It should enable whatever changes you're trying to accomplish. So if you're trying to be more efficient, if you're trying to provide better customer service, if you're trying to build better products, whatever the case may be, that should be the driving factor with AI supporting. So that gives you a sense of purpose, and it gives your employees a sense of purpose that's easier to follow than just let's go implement AI and see what happens. Second is that adoption is emotional, and leaders need to understand that. Employees follow and they embrace new technologies and they want to support change initiatives when they understand what's happening, when they feel secure, and when the emotions are positive for them. The minute those emotions turn negative or come from a place of uncertainty, fear, or doubt, that's where people start to resist change. So as a leader, one question to ask yourself is how can I lead this change in a way that gets rid of that FUD, that fear, uncertainty, and doubt? And how can we translate that negative emotion into something more positive, something that gets them excited, something that helps them see the vision of what the future can be for the organization, but more importantly, what's in it for them? How would it help their career? How will it help them be better at their jobs day to day? How will it give them the confidence to navigate this future of work that we're embracing at the moment? So these are all things you've got to think about as a leader and things that you can do to help ensure that your people do ultimately follow. A third thing that leaders can do to help ensure that people follow AI initiatives and strategies is to involve them in use case definition. Involve your employees in trying to pilot ideas or to test AI in certain parts of their business. Perhaps you have different work groups that you task them with finding one of the biggest challenges they're facing, one of the biggest inefficiencies or pain points for their part of the organization, and invite them to come up with ideas on how they could use AI to potentially solve those problems. And the minute you get those people involved in the decision process and in the piloting process, the minute you do two things. One is you get a lot of good ideas from the front lines that you probably wouldn't have thought of inside the boardroom or from an ivory tower. But secondly, now you've gotten their buy-in. They are part of the solution and they feel a lot more confident. They feel like they have ownership and they're not threatened by the change, and the change isn't just happening to them. So it's really a win-win across the board. It's good for the organization, it's good for you as a leader, and it's good for the employees on the front lines as well. And then finally, even though AI is a big unknown and you're probably trying to figure out a lot of details around what AI can and can't do, it's important to measure success not in terms of the technology, but in the adoption. How many employees are using AI? What's the success rate? What's the impact to the business? How is it affecting their job satisfaction? Really measuring and understanding how AI is affecting the organization as a whole and as individual work groups and also individual people. That's something that will go a long way towards building confidence and getting people to turn a negative emotion, a resistance-based emotion, into something that's more focused on being a part of the solution and being excited about the solution. At the end of the day, if I were to leave you with one piece of advice, it'd be that you need to remember that AI strategies are not going to fail because of the technology itself. AI is evolving, it's advancing very quickly. It's still not perfect. There's still imperfections and hallucinations and other things we've got to worry about. Data governance is still important. The technology itself needs attention, but at the end of the day, the more you can focus on the people side of the equation, the more successful these initiatives are going to be, and the less likely it is that people are going to resist the change and feel threatened by the changes. Because remember, employees typically aren't going to resist change in the form of open rebellion and protest. They're going to do it quietly, they're going to do it behind the scenes, under the radar, and they're going to do it behind closed doors. And that's the hard change resistance to overcome. Now, if you'd like to learn more about AI strategies and how to define a tech-agnostic AI strategy for your organization, be sure to read our Guide to AI Strategy and Implementation. You can find that by scanning the QR code right here, or you can go to the links below. And if you'd like to learn more about change management tips and lessons that we have from having helped so many organizations through their change initiatives, you can also check out our Guide to Organizational Change Management. You can find that using this QR code or go to the links below. And I'd love to hear from you. What has your experience with AI been so far? How has it impacted your organization, and how are employees within your organization reacting to AI? I'd love to hear your feedback. Please drop a comment below and let me know what you think. So I hope you found this information useful and hope you have a great day. Resistance to AI is rational is because a third thing that employees can do, I'm sorry, leaders. The last one is what leaders are missing. So many things. So how much time do we have? A third thing that top 30 things leaders are missing.